It's been over a decade of Bitcoin, and let's analyze what's happened. I think I've learned a lot, and I think there's a lot to learn now that we're kind of here. Who's got rich? We simply just have to follow the money. The people that got rich through Bitcoin were the early adopters. Satoshi, the founders, and his team, they got a lot of Bitcoin from that. Uh, the early miners kind of got rich from that. Same group, basically technical people, and today those that raise capital. And we now see where it's going. We have men like Michael Saylor are now the face of Bitcoin because he can buy a bunch of it. He's got is it 60,000 or 600,000? He's got a lot of Bitcoin, right? He's got more Bitcoin than any individual that purchased it early in the beginning. So let's analyze this. Let's analyze what we've learned about money and what we can derive moving forward. So to proceed further, you got to understand the vision and the promise of Bitcoin and what Satoshi wanted. Satoshi wanted to create a decentralized, distributed money system that nobody can print. It was basically based on a computer algorithm, proof of work. This computer is doing a bunch of calculations and so on. So if you understand money, you understand the legal system, because the founders and the guys that were writing the writings behind Bitcoin were lawyers. A lot of writings about law. Is Nick Szabo wrote a lot about law and so on, and the guys that were involved early. So a bunch of lawyers that wrote a lot, and then you have the economic portion, which is money, and they wanted to decentralize it from banks, so that banks don't control your energy, your time, and so on. And then on top of that, his vision, which I agree with, was he wanted to have a distributed market system where people could, like an eBay, where people could buy and sell, trade. So you can't stop the money, and you can't stop the trade. That was his vision. What was the result of that? The result of that is people started to speculate. We started to look at what's the price of Bitcoin? What's the price of Bitcoin? What's the price of Bitcoin? And human nature and naturally went towards that because that was the easier route. That was the easier way to make a fortune. Hey, well, if I could just buy this thing and hold it, why would I try to transact? Why would I use it for commerce? Logically, same thing. If I could just buy something, hold it for a long period of time, and I know it's gonna go to $1 million. Why would I want to sell it? There's no incentive to deploy your time, your energy, and your knowledge on Bitcoin. That's what's happened. And what's happening now. So the man of capital, which is the bankers, the guys that can print money, because you're measuring it based on United States dollars or the yen, the franc, the pound, and the Swahili dollar or whatever. And you're measuring it against that. So now it's like, okay, I'm getting more value just holding this thing. And so I don't have to deploy it economically. That's where we've arrived. And who does that kick out? Who does that weave out? The average person. The average person has not or will not get rich off Bitcoin. It's kind of too late. Bitcoin's now making this video is at 100,000. So who knows? It's clearly going to be $1 million one day. It's going to be because of just the scarcity. It's supply and demand. The supply is very scarce in its design. So the average person will not get rich off Bitcoin. And the idea was for the average person to have a shot. I would think from the guys that were putting everything together, they wanted the average guy to have a shot at life, not have the bankers control their fate and their fate is economic. Economic activity basically determines your entire livelihood in life. So that's where we've arrived, and let's analyze how we need to move forward, right? So in the men of thinking in the ancient past, we've always juggled with the idea, at least in the United States, of what's money, who's to issue the money, and there have been cycles of private issued money and the Federal Reserve, all that jargon. You can find stuff around it on YouTube. You can read the history of money. But what we now understand is money cannot just be distributed on a computer, because it now creates a new class of wealth, of men of capital, which are computer geeks and computer nerds who only understand compute. So money solely on a computer and having, that technical class be the determiners of who gets, you know, access to capital has just created a class of nerds who do not understand how to, distribute the equality of opportunity. At least from what I'm seeing. The next thing is money. I think we now get a closer understanding to what money really is. It's now clear. I think we've always known. Men have always articulated. Pretty sure there's some guys who spoke about this, articulated very well. But what's money? So we now know that money can't just be a unit on a computer or a unit in a database. It can't be issued by men in suits. Money fundamentally to its core, what it is to its natural core. It's the effort, meaning energy. It's the time, the time we spend, the scarce time we have on this planet, and the knowledge, the things we know mentally, the deployment of these things. That's what creates money. Not an asset on a chain and that you can hold, but these things, the effort of men combined or as an individual. That's what money really is if you want to capture its essence. So moving forward, now that we know this, how do we proceed? We've tried the smart contract thing. It's remained and it's stayed on Ethereum. And it's only moving assets. Some guy creates another shitcoin, or this shitcoin promises security on chain. This shitcoin promises decentralization and governance in this. This shitcoin promises 23%. Bitcoin, also being the ultimate shitcoin, promises $1 million of valuation one day, and for the men of capital to print money and buy and hold it. Huh? Is that the vision we want? Is that where we're heading? So what's next?